My name is Matt Noikos.
My name is Kevin Flannery. I'm the principal partner in this and the source of the funding. And I play bass in the Grand Rapids Symphony, and this is my 39th season. I have been making and repairing basses for about 39 of those years. When I moved to town, the symphony paid so little that I had to find something else to do. So I apprenticed myself with a guy that owned a violin shop and learned instrument repair, and did that. Worked for him for about 8 years, and then we parted company. You just interviewed my partner Matt, and the interesting story there is, while Matt grew up here in Grand Rapids, and while he was going to school in high school, I started working on his instruments for him. And then I worked on his instruments, and he graduated from Grand Valley with a performance degree, and he went to Cincinnati College Conservatory in double bass performance. And his first year there, he took a furniture building course and got interested in woodworking, of all things. So he found out that I had taught a number of people how to make double basses. So he called me up in the second year of his master's. We made a double bass. And that kind of piqued his interest, and he went from there to violin making school and then working on the East Coast, and then wanted to move back to town. And he called me up, and I had heard that the local violin shop guy was retiring, so the stars lined up, and let's do it. Let's have a shop.
And I had stayed in touch with Kevin all these years. And when I had, told Kevin I was thinking of moving back to Grand Rapids, Kevin said, well, why don't we team our efforts up and open the business together. And so we just kept talking about it, and then here we are. So opened that up in October last year. I love that this engages all my senses. So I come into a shop, and even kind of the gross smell of hide glue I like. Like it has there's a certain smell to everything. Like the wood has a scent to it. The varnish materials have a scent to it. Every time I open that cabinet and I have all the varnish supplies in it, it has this wonderful smell to it. Lavender oil, spike oil, I use for different things to thin varnish out. It smells amazing. So I think those kinds of things. I'm just talking about smells, it seems like, but so there's that, the visual aspect. Some of these instruments are beautiful, especially the way that the varnish plays. If somebody really gets the varnish right, it can have this gorgeous look to it, where the light kind of bounces off the wood, and so it engages my eyes. There's always these beautiful things to look at, and violins themselves, like the shape, it's a very pleasing shape. It's very a classical design to it, and obviously the auditory aspect of it too. I mean, I love hearing the instruments played. I love having customers come in. We'll have some excellent players come in and play, and it's just I just love having every bit of that. Even hearing the way that when I'm carving something, hearing the way that the wood, because there's so many things I can get information wise. That's why I don't wear headphones. A lot of people there are people who wear headphones at work, and I don't, because when I'm carving a top or doing something, like I can tell how my plane's working by just how the wood comes off of the blade, and how sharp the blade is. I can hear it, and it has a certain sound to it when it's working right. And I get a lot of information from carving something, and the way the chips are coming off, and but I love that. I love hearing all of those sounds. So I think the sensory experience and the feeling. There's so many things to the touch of the instruments, and there's so much to take in, and I think every aspect of this of that I like, and I also think I like this satisfies major parts of my personality, because when I was younger, for example, like all I wanted to do was play with Legos. I just wanted to build things, and then I became, then I studied music, and I was involved in that, And I also always enjoyed my art classes and artistic endeavors. And I feel like this business for me sort of melds all those things together, and I'm able to work on. I'm able to solve problems with like engineering problems with the violin and how to get the best structure that I can get, and I also get to look at the instruments and figure out how can I make this as beautiful as I can, and how can I make it sound as good as I can, and how and it just mixes all these things that I've always done in my whole life that I've been interested in.
Well, it's an act of creation. It's almost like bringing a child into the world. I mean, without all the mess, but it's just a tremendous amount of work. Even with a violin, which is so small, it's ridiculous. I mean, a bass. The difference between making a violin and making a bass is, a violin is you're building a little shed. You know, you have a few pieces of 2x4 and you nail them together and slap on some shingles and you're done. I mean, it's not that simple, and it's a very complicated task. A bass, you're building a house, so you have piles of timber and you're going berserk and pounding in all these nails and getting really tired of the whole affair. But I enjoy basses. I've made a number of basses. I'm on my 18th one right now.
The making from scratch is nice because it's kind of you're making something new. It's exciting, and you're kind of making something that's going to last for years and years. There's an artistic aspect of it that I enjoy, and I think it fulfills some sort of need that I have. But I also enjoy the challenge of restoration work. I think what I enjoy about restoration work is that every project that comes in is different. I can't. What worked on one instrument doesn't necessarily work on the next, and you have to encounter everything is different. When you make your own instruments, you make them from scratch, and you kind of know what to expect, especially when you're making the same model over and over and over. And there is something attractive about kind of repeating something and trying to perfect every little aspect of it. But the nice thing about restoration work is it's different every time. So I do enjoy that. And the techniques, I think the technical aspects of restoration work are really intense. There are 2 violins in that case down there that have lots of things that need to be done. They have a lot of cracks. I have to rebuild part of the F-hole wing that's been missing for years. And it's going to need some neck work, probably the neck reset, and it's going to take probably 6 months. It's quite a lot of work, and a lot of especially with like old cracks that are in there, and you can see them, and it's really painstaking work because you have to clean the crack with a brush, and you have to very carefully try to get all the old dirt out and everything, and sometimes you spend hours just cleaning cracks, and then once you have them clean and they're ready to go, and then you spend lots of time trying to make sure everything is lined up just right.